Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review for this morning's press conference reaction show with me, Paul. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning. As usual, if you do enjoy today's show, please do hit the thumbs up button. And of course, if you're new and you like what you see, please do subscribe. It is free to do so. You can also join the Toon review if you do so wish by hitting the join button just underneath myself. And of course, you can donate to the channel if you do so wish by hitting that $ at the bottom of the live chat, which will also guarantee to get your comment read straight out on the show. Now, Eddie has spoken, and it seems to created a lot of controversy this morning. Well, as per usual, guys, that's how it seems to me this morning with regards to Sean Longstaff and, of course, the medical team. A lot of fans are asking questions this morning as to what the hell is going on behind the scenes. It seems like certain players have been playing with injuries, and you have to say why, especially after the crap that we've had with injuries throughout the season. Why is the medical staff and Eddie Howe still playing injured players? Now, many people might come back and say, well, he's had no choice, etc. But he has had a choice. He has had a choice. Despite the injuries, there's always a choice there. And the fact that Sean Longstaff has really done nothing for weeks on end now, despite him, whether you think he's good enough or not, if he's been playing with an injury, which we have always suspected that to be the case, every tackle he seems to take, he's down holding his ankle. Now, it seems to be a foot injury, the problem with Sean Longstaff. So we'll discuss it when we go through what he said this morning. But I'm really just getting peed off now with us playing injured players, and something has got to be addressed in the summer regarding this. It simply has to. Something has to be addressed, and I've said in previous shows I think there will be addressed, but there's got to be a deep dive into what's gone on with this medical team during the during the season, because it hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been good enough. Botman playing with injury probably made it a lot worse. Then, of course, you have players coming back too early. There was the Murphy situation, Joe Linton, Anthony Gordon, playing at Chelsea, coming back on for the second half when he was complete. This is the cup game I'm talking about, of course. So lots of stuff. Peter, good morning. He says, interesting that Eddie took his entire Bournemouth medical staff with him to Newcastle. When Bournemouth got relegated under Eddie, they had an injury list as long as ours. Yeah. Chipper says, playing with injuries or defending them for playing awful. A good point, but I think, if he's been getting injections, why play him? Why? What? I mean, you have to ask what the hell is going on. Craig says, no excuse to play a player that's injured. The whole medical staff needs to be reviewed. Stan says you can wreck players' careers playing them injured. Absolutely. And I think that's the worrying thing. Sean's had some serious injuries in his career already. And if you're playing him and just giving him injections to get him out on the pitch, that's wrong, in my opinion. Completely wrong, especially when there is other midfielders there. Whether they're good enough or not, it doesn't matter. You just don't play injured players. It's crazy. Mike says there are always choices. It's the decisions that are questionable. Julie, good morning. I did wonder why it was disabled again. Darren thought Lonan had been a naughty boy. I have no idea what that is. Howe selects the team, so he's the one playing injured players. Yeah, but he will be getting advice from the medical team as well, Toon Gamer. Let's not forget that. He will be getting advice. He will be getting good advice at times and bad advice at others. And unfortunately, the bad advice has well taken over the good advice this season. But to know that players are injured and playing mental. Ken says, I'm starting to get a bit pissed off with Eddie now in press conferences. It's as if he thinks, how dare you ask that question? And anyway, I'm telling you nothing. Yeah, there has been a few accusations of that, hasn't there, where he's just sort of brushed off. And a few journalists have come out and said that he is asked some very serious questions in the press conference, and he just doesn't answer them. He just doesn't answer them. The American Mag and NUFC Insiders, a good morning to you. How are you, Paul, my guy? Hope you're well, fella. Yeah, I'm really well. I believe you've got a show at noon UK time today, so if you want to pop over and watch those guys on the American Mag and NUFC Insiders at noon, they're doing, I think it's sort of a pre-match build-up that they're doing, so get across there and have a watch. John Bloggs says they all seem to have no clue what they're doing, totally amateur. Joe says, I don't care about Longstaff playing with a little ankle problem, getting injections, but to play Botman for 2 games with an effing ACL is the whole medical team should be sacked and replaced. Hamid, Paul, would a Pep or Klopp do what Howe does? That answers the question why we need better manager. Well, look, obviously, I think Pep and Klopp have a lot more to pick from than what Eddie Howe does. Let's not just all jump on Eddie here. I think he's got a lot more. Those two managers you've mentioned there have certainly got more options than what we have. However, the positions that we've been questioning this season, be it left back or midfield or right-hand side forward, I think he's had options. Alexander says, just finished watching last night's stream. Didn't realize what time it was for the morning show. Darren says, I stand by Howe. He needs one more season. The medical team are a disgrace. Sacked a lot of them. So there is a lot of comments coming in, obviously, against the American? Against the medical team. Maybe some of them are American. I don't know. Spoons, good morning. Hope you're well, my brother. He says, I've said for months that Sean's injured and should not be playing, so this is no surprise. Yet you have, to be fair. Right, let's take a look at some of the points that Eddie made this morning in the press conference. And first of all, he started off on Anthony Gordon's call up to the England side. And this is what he said, or the England squad, I should say. He said, I'm delighted for him. I know it's been a big ambition of his since he was a little boy, and he fully deserves it. He's been outstanding this year and is continuing to grow week on week. I'm delighted that's been recognised. He's worked so hard, and rightly so. Anthony Gordon has been a big plus point for us this season. The fact that he was so honest last season to come out and say, I wasn't fit. I wasn't Eddie Howe fit anyway, and needed to do something about that. And he's done it. He's done it really well. He's come back really strong this season and been an absolute joy to watch. Now, he went on to talk about his injury, and he says, initially, when you see a player come off like that, you fear it's a serious injury, but he partly trained yesterday, and he seemed okay. We train again today, so we will do a full session, and we'll make a judgment after that. So he is going to train. A lot of people have said that they don't really want Anthony Gordon to play tomorrow. But look, I've had to think about this, right? And I think this is a big opportunity for Newcastle that can't be missed. Despite the injuries, we need to go to the Etihad tomorrow and at least try and win the game. Give it a go. And if we go down by giving it a go, then nobody can say anything. But it's the manner as, if we just sort of go down there and just don't perform and play absolute garbage, then, questions will be asked. But if we go down there and give it a good go, I'll be happy with that. I'll be really, really happy with that. But, we're yet to see a really strong Newcastle performance for a very long time. And it obviously does worry a lot of people about the situation and whether we can actually turn up. But look, why not? This is the FA Cup quarter-final. It's a huge game. So I'm probably against making loads of changes. Changes that will be necessary are in the certain positions that we always talk about. But don't change, 80, 90% of the team, because we've got to go at it. We've got to give it a go. And that's what we the FA Cup guys, we're one game away from Wembley. Whether you like the semi-finals at Wembley or not, that's irrelevant. We're one game away from getting another performance at Wembley. Toon Gamer says, don't play him if he could get injured again. I mean, look, this injury is supposed to be really serious, and yet a few days later, he's in contention to play again. Again, it comes down to, do you trust the medical team enough to make that decision? I mean, it's madness. Craig says, if we don't get Europe this year, it will be Bruno's last. Well, that's the thing. That's why I want to see us give it a go. Because let's be honest, league form isn't great. Away form is rotten. But one-off game in the FA Cup, you just never know. And if we can get through, it's a way into Europe. It is a way into Europe. And we just have to try. James says, can we not try Miggy with Miggy and Murphy? I really don't want to see Gordon be out for a long time. Chipper says, sadly, I expect another Keystone Cops performance. JT Toon, we always seem to play a bit better against Man City. We usually lose mine, but we definitely seem to raise our game. Yeah, we do. And look, that's all I'm saying. I just want us to perform well. And if we go down performing well, then we have no complaints. But if we go down by bending over and just taking it up the backside, then we do not want anything to do with that. Cynical Jim says it was only a serious injury. If you listen to the In the Know numpties, yeah, a lot of them made a fool of themselves. Going on camera, etc., saying, he's out 7 to 9 months. And, we did a show on that night and said, look, we're not commenting on it because the club haven't said anything yet. Nobody from the club has confirmed that this is a serious injury. And you end up with egg on your face. Just wait till the club come out. Julie Jace, Nick says, if we finish outside the top 10 this season, Howe and his staff will be gone. PIF will not accept any excuses. Dean says the medical team needs looking at. The injury situation has been horrendous. It needs serious questions answered. Player welfare is paramount. Worried about Flash after this conversation. Yeah. Now, he did speak about Harvey Barnes as well. Not a lot about it, but just very briefly. And he said Harvey won't make the squad for tomorrow, but we hope he will be back for West Ham. That was it. Very brief comment on Harvey Barnes. And he then went on to talk about the international break. And as some people did suggest on the show last night that we were going to go for some warm weather training, that's going to take place in Dubai. He says, we're going to go away, as we have done in the last 2 years, to Dubai to do some warm weather training and work on some things. I think that'll be a good time for us. Now, we know that when Newcastle United have been away in the past for this warm weather training that they've been on, it has been a success. They've come back rejuvenated, revitalized, and finished the season really strongly, which is exactly what we need from the lads moving into this final part of the season. We need whoever is fit to perform, and to perform to the very best of their abilities. If their abilities aren't good enough, which we know some of them aren't, then fair enough. But there's a lot of good players in our starting 11. A lot. And still some decent ones on the bench when you don't have a serious injury crisis. We do have players on the bench who can do okay. However, I just think Harvey Barnes, was he fully fit when he came back? Because he was absolute. I know the injury is different to the one he was out for a long time, but you have to start questioning. Harvey Barnes has not looked anywhere decent enough since he came back from his long-term injury. Botman all over the shop. There's everybody's beginning to see a trend in these injured players, and it's a worrying trend. House said it didn't look good for Gordon. Yeah, he did. It did look nasty, says Cynical Jim, when the physio pushed it back. Well, I mean, listen. I mean, whatever he did with his knee, maybe that helped. Maybe something popped back in. I don't know. Mental. Baz Down Under, good evening to you. I'm away and won't hear your call, but look forward to your after-match reaction. John says, does anyone believe Howe about injuries? Talks more shite than Chubby Brown. Well, that's the thing. It's very, very difficult to maybe take on board what the manager's saying a lot of the time, because throughout the season, during these press conferences, we've heard him say about injuries, we've heard him say about everything else, and then nothing comes to fruition. And, especially when he comes out and says it's nothing serious, a couple of weeks, and then it ends up being, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I don't know if you can trust them. Send the lads to Kenya for some warm weather training. They don't deserve the luxuries of Dubai. Well, yeah. Uncle Buzzcock says, fair play to Sean for playing through the pain, but he shouldn't be playing if he needs injections. It's not as if he's a star player, so it isn't worth the risk. Well, we'll come on to Sean in a minute. Now, Eddie then went on to talk about the game at the Etihad tomorrow. And this is what he said. He says, we'll have a right go. We'll attack it and try to progress into the next round. We can do it. I've got no doubt about that. Of course, we have to get our game plan right and execute it in the highest level. But we go there in a positive mood. Now, listen, if the team are going there in a positive mood, brilliant. No questions about it. That's brilliant. But where's this positive mood coming from is my question. A very, very lackluster performance at Chelsea. Still weren't great against Wolves, but we got the job done. But we haven't. And to look back at Eddie's quote there, saying that we have to execute it to the highest level. When was the last time you can remember that Newcastle executed a game plan to the highest level? So that's the worry for me, is that we're going into a game saying, oh, we're all positive and everything, and we have to achieve this game plan to the highest level. We haven't seen the highest level for weeks and weeks, well, into months now, to be honest. And to go there in a positive mood, I'm not sure there's a positive mood in that dressing room. If there is, brilliant. But we as fans looking from the outside, how on earth is there a positive mood in that dressing room? I don't get it. But listen, on the flip side of that, I really, really do. I really do hope that we go there in a positive mood and we get back to our highest level. Toon Gamer says the Villa game we did. Yep, for a certain part of the game we did, certainly in the first half, but we need to be switched on for the full game here at the Etihad. We know that because Man City they'll just destroy us if we're not on our game for any part of that. If we lose concentration for literally a minute, they will punish you for that. And we've seen that throughout the season. And we've seen that throughout the years with Manchester City, to be honest. So that's not going to be great. Now, on Nick Pope, April is his target, says Eddie, but I think that will be more towards the end of April than the beginning. But he's making good, solid progress. He's out on the grass, but not necessarily diving yet. That will be a big test for his shoulder, and it's the next stage. Then, of course, he will have to get his sharpness back. He's entering into the final furlong in terms of his comeback, but he's still got a lot of hurdles to go through. So, listen, I wouldn't expect Nick Pope anytime soon. And my opinion is, if he's not going to be back till late April, why risk him? Why risk him for what, couple of games in May, if that? No point. Just keep him out until pre-season. Let him get 100% fit, and then start pre-season. It just seems that that's the simple way to go. Now, obviously, I'm not a medical expert, and neither are a lot of fans. But what would be the point of Nick Pope being out for so long with an injury that he's done before? It's happened to him before. So why would we risk him? Keep him out, let him get fully fit, and then bring him back for pre-season. That seems the obvious thing to do. But again, we're talking about bringing players back. End of April, it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless bringing Nick Pope back. It seems very, very strange to me. Rachel says, we usually make a good show against Man City, so being a positive me, I think we could sneak a win here. I think Rachel's snorting what Billy and Stato were last night. John says we can look to the Villa game for some hope, but the problem is City are not Villa. If we sit back, we will be destroyed. If we have a go, we might at least go out with a whimper. Or go out without a whimper. Edward says the game plan isn't enough. You need to be able to make changes in games, and this is where Eddie seems to be failing. Exactly right. And if you look at the first half tomorrow, and some players are really not up to the fight, and you can see that they're not up for it, then drag them off at halftime. You've got to make these ruthless decisions. And yes, it can be a little hard on the players at times if they are trying, but it's not working. But still, you've got to show that the rest of the players that you're not putting up with any crap. And unfortunately, that's what he's been doing. Eddie will make in-game changes when his alarm goes off at 65 minutes. Spike says the medical team don't seem to be experts either. Very good point. Nick says give him that extra couple of months to fully heal. Exactly. And they're talking about bringing him back. Why rush him back? I mean, if there's anything massive to play for, we still need a win to get into Europe or something like that, then maybe. But right now, the position that it's looking, why rush him back? There's just not any point. And if, worst comes to worst, they'll injure him more. This is the second injury he's had on this shoulder, remember. Tristan says, Paul, if Eddie can't get what he sees in the training pitch onto the match day pitch, that's on him. Training against shit players, standard, sort of understand that message, but yeah, it is on him. Ian says, I agree, Paul, no point bringing him back for a couple of games. Ryan says, I'm going to snort a full line of coke to see what it's like being a happy clapper with blinkers on. Interesting, Ryan, but we don't condone the taking of any substances on the Toon Review. Durban says, how cannot make meaningful substitutes? I think that seems to be the problem, what everybody's saying in the chat as well about substitutes and how Eddie is incapable of doing that. So it's all right for him to say game plans, etc., but we don't see a sort of game management from him. And I think that's the worry for a lot of supporters. Now let's finally talk about Sean Longstaff, shall we? Because this is the big thing that's come up in the press conference this morning, that Eddie has admitted that Sean's been playing with an injury and is taking injections every game. Why? You've got to ask that question. Why? What on earth is going on at Newcastle United that we put players on that pitch that you know, it's like playing with 10 men. And a lot of people have said that. It's like playing with 10 men right now. Sean is not doing anything for the team. He's not doing anything for himself. In fact, he's probably making himself look a bit silly, because if he's not able to do what he wants to do out on the pitch, why is he out there? This really does worry me massively, given the mistakes they've already made with Botman, Joe Linton, Murphy, etc. this season. Injections are only to... Listen, I'm coming from a sporting background here, you know, with the ice hockey and everything, but for me, when a player is injured and they're getting injections, it's to get them through a couple of games and then either surgery or rest. But the amount of times they've been talking about him getting injections now is moving into weeks and weeks, and just to get him on the pitch. But he's not doing anything on the pitch. That injury is hampering him. His form is hampering him. You know, so he doesn't offer anything at the moment. And I cannot understand for the life of me why they keep putting injured players on the pitch. It makes no sense. No sense at all as to why this happens. Now, you know, again, we're not medically qualified here, but the fact of the matter is you can see it and I can see it. When Newcastle United go onto that pitch and perform week in, week out, Sean Longstaff has been missing for several weeks now. Now, we know what Sean's capable of, all right? I'm not sitting here saying Sean Longstaff is a bad footballer, right? A lot of people may think the other, but I don't. I think he's been an important cog in the wheel for Eddie Howe for a long time. And he's proved that when he's been injured for a couple of weeks and we've missed him in midfield. It's tackling and stuff, but he doesn't put tackles in now. He loses the ball and he gives up. There was episodes at Chelsea, you know, when I think in the second half, someone was having a shot. He just let them go past them, and it was Bruno that come flying across. He lost the ball on the far side on the touchline, couldn't be asked to get back. Now, we saying couldn't be asked to get back, but is it because he physically couldn't get back because of the injury? And, you know, that's the type of thing that we're asking now. If this injury is hampering him to the point where he can't chase the ball, why is he on the sodden pitch? Lewis Miley's 17, and yes, he's played a lot more games than I thought, you know, than anybody thought he would this season. But there's a reason for that. And that reason is simple. The injuries. But when he's got Miley sitting on the bench and still playing Sean Longstaff, and the weird thing is, he's saying this about Sean, right? He's saying this about Sean, but he keeps him on for the full game. He doesn't substitute him either. So he's on there for the full game, knowing fine well that he's injured. So that makes it even worse for me. The fact that he might say, oh, well, you know, Sean maybe can get 65, 70 minutes out of him with the injections, and then, you know, we'll replace him in midfield. He doesn't do that. He's on for the full game. Now, it's not Sean's fault if he's been put out on that pit. Eddie makes the decision to play him. Sean may well turn around and say, yeah, I feel fit enough. The injections are working, right? But that's wrong on Sean's behalf. But if you look at the manager, he has to make these decisions. And at the moment, he is making a decision to play an injured player. Now, whether he said this morning so that he can leave Sean out tomorrow and it'll all be down to the injury and not Sean's form, then it's quite a clever move by Eddie Howe. Because his form's been rank even before the injury, to be honest. He hasn't... His performances over the season have not been great. He went through a very bad spell at the start of the season. Then he got better, and then he's got worse again. So it's not all down to the injury. But it's a good excuse for Eddie Howe to leave him out the side tomorrow. He can just turn around and say, well, you know, obviously we've been giving him these injections and he's not fit enough to play this game. It just seems like a perfect time. Listen, I can babble on here for hours about how crap the medical team have been this season, but you've also got to look at the whole cog here. The medical team, the coaches, and the manager, right? They all sit down and they will discuss players and discuss their fitness and watch them on the training ground and watch them in the recovery rooms, etc. And turn around and say, yeah, he's fit to play, he's not fit to play, etc. But for some reason, they have made numerous mistakes on several occasions with our first team players. You know, would Botman have been out for as long as he was if he was dealt with straight away rather than playing 2 games? With an ACL. This is an ACL injury, guys. It's a serious injury. It's not just a sprained ankle or a sprained wrist or a broken fingernail or something like that. It's an ACL. And he played 2 games with it before they decided he played again, didn't he? And then he came off during the game. So were they just going to keep playing him with an ACL? Because they didn't leave him out of any games. And that's what worries me about the Botman situation, was he came off during a game. And he'd already played 2 games with that ACL injury. Where is the sense in what is going on here? So we as fans, of course we're going to worry. Of course we're going to worry about what's going on. You know, we're seeing players out on the pitch and we see with our own eyes that player is not performing. But he says he's injured, yet he still plays 90 minutes every week. So, look, there's other midfielders there that can cover Sean Longstaff. It's not the end of the world if Sean doesn't play. Certainly the fact that Elliot Anderson is back now, I would play him in midfield rather than up front on the left, because I don't think he's fit enough to play there yet, but he can play in midfield. And he can do a very, very good job in there. Willock may have to swap over Willock and Anderson throughout the game. But I wouldn't mind seeing that. It gives us a bit of choice. It gives us a bit of variety. But listen, if Sean's on the team sheet tomorrow, there'll be hell on. Honestly, I'll be done with it, because I do not see any way that Sean Longstaff plays tomorrow. And like I say, I think he's mentioned it in his press conference this morning, simply to sway it so that he doesn't have to pick him. And he can use the excuse was it's the perfect time to take him out. But again, we'll see. Tristan says, Paul, it's all on Eddie medical staff. Don't decide who plays. Eddie does. They can advise. That's it. Eddie is the problem. He cares more about the win than the players. Rachel says, I can't believe in this day and age that players are being played injured. It's a disgrace. Julie says, I get the impression Eddie is set in his ways. Yes, he is. And listen, that's not us just as Newcastle fans saying that. A lot of Bournemouth fans have said that over the years as well. When, Eddie's had problems there, he's been very stubborn and just set in his ways, and he won't change anything very quickly at all. Now, look, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't see it. But because of that, we can only speculate and talk about it on these shows, whether it's right or wrong. But what else are we to do? We're seeing some very, very poor management going on with regards to players and injuries. And listen, we used to slag Newcastle United off under Ashley and Bruce and everything, saying that the players, they're not getting proper treatment and everything. Well, we've got the proper treatment tables. We've got the proper treatment rooms in place now, yet we're still playing players with serious injuries. I mean, come on. Gary says, I had an ACL up on the 2nd of January and I'm still not back to work. Exactly. And you have to worry what's going on with Botman as well, because similar to Sean, Botman's form has been dreadful and he's never hit the heights that he had before he got the injury. So you've got to ask questions. 80s Gamer says, I said it from the start and I'll say it again. We won't win anything under Eddie Howe. People need to wake up and smell the coffee. It's just not working. All I want is answers, to be honest. I want answers, but we never get them. We never, ever get them in these press conferences. We never hear from the manager telling the God's honest truth about what's gone on. They don't have to, of course. That's their prerogative to do so. But when these new owners came in and spoke to us about being transparent and giving us all the information, etc., we're not seeing that anymore. At the moment, we're not. We're not getting the truth. We want to know the truth as to why Botman played with an injury. We want to know the truth as to why Sean is picked every week and plays 90 minutes with an injury and poor form. Why was Joe Linton brought back so soon? Why was Murphy brought back so soon? Why was Gordon kept on the pitch in the Carabao against Chelsea and again kept on the pitch at the weekend against Chelsea when he was clearly injured? You know, serious questions. And if I was in that conference room, I'd demand answers. I may not get them and I may be asked to leave, etc. But I would want answers from the football club and I'd want answers from Eddie Howe. Straight talking, down to the just tell us. Because it's all listen, we're speculating about all this happening in the summer about, you know, medical staff and a big overhaul. What if that doesn't happen, guys? You know, a lot of people behind the scenes have to take responsibility for this. Cynical Jim says, if Eddie is set in his ways at his young age, he has no hope of being a top manager. Honestly, the fact Howe went into a Champions League season with Burn at left back should have sent alarm bells ringing. Hippie says, as much as I don't want to see Longstaff start, he always seems to turn up in the big matches. Okay, I'm not sure I agree with that, but fair enough. David says, did you see Amanda has to apologize to Bruce? We know exactly what she meant. It's a load of tosh. Rich, I was speaking to a Bournemouth fan at the weekend, and she told me I'm experiencing the frustration they had with him towards the end. They love him, but she said, you are now seeing the cracks. Well, you know, that's up, to be honest, that's up to the hierarchy to deal with that. I'm still behind Eddie Howe. I'm still very much behind him. But, you know, that strong feeling you have towards a manager is starting. It's definitely dwindling, and it's already dwindled with quite a few people. Spike says a good medical team would refuse to allow a good player, a player to play with an injury. About the medical team, yes, absolutely questions about the England team. Claire says, Paul, you'd be banned for not towing the line and asking soft questions. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, for some reason, I mean, these reporters who go in say that they ask the questions and then Eddie Howe brushes over them. Start being a bit forceful. You know, you don't have to be nasty and things like that to be a little bit forceful. If you ask a question and Eddie tries to steer wide of it, just pipe up and say, sorry, Eddie, that's not really the answer that ourselves or the fans are looking for. You need to elaborate more, Eddie. You need to tell us a little bit more, and then, you know, push him. But from what I see from these press conferences, they're not pushing enough. But I would to the point where, you know, I'd want to get the answers for the fans and to bring them answers back here onto this YouTube channel. You know, whether people like it or not, YouTube is now part of the growing media circus. Whatever you think of it, if you're not a YouTube fan, it doesn't matter. But YouTube is now probably more popular than watching mainstream TV. So there is, it's massive now, and it is part of the media. Whether people like that or not, they have to just shut up and get on with it. So I'd love to get proper answers for people, and you know, I think. I don't think that the journalists push them hard enough. Mike says Eddie should just tell us how it is with injuries and simply be honest. We'd rather it be the truth, and as fans, we will at least understand better. Well, that's a good point, Mike, because if we knew exactly what the injury situation was, then maybe we can be a little understanding as to, you know, why Eddie is restricted or why Eddie doesn't play certain players or why he keeps players on the pitch. If he's a little more honest with us and let us know what's going on, maybe we can actually just then understand a little bit better, because that's what it's all about for me. It's about understanding about what's going on. But at the minute, we as fans, we're all bloody clueless. We're seeing players go down every week with injuries, and we see a medical team making absolutely ridiculous decisions to put players on that pitch, and Eddie Howe to put players on that pitch who are nowhere fit enough to be out there in the first place. And that's what will continue to worry me if things are not good. The Pete says, Paul, why do you not think they invite YouTubers to the press conference? I don't think they want to admit yet. I think that a lot of football clubs do a lot with the YouTubers. Certainly with the women's team, I think that, you know, the exposure they've had through YouTube has been fantastic. And a couple of really, you know, good channels of, you know, Adam P and Newcastle United Fans TV have really promoted the women's team this season, and that's been brilliant. And we're going to start doing that on this channel with our weekly show with me and Sam. So, you know, we are turning that way as well. But I think the majority of the elite football clubs, they have to realize now that social media YouTube is a media presence. And it's not just newspapers anymore. There's a whole conglomerate of media enterprises now. You know, and I'm not saying you have to ask every YouTuber there. Maybe a different one on a week-to-week basis who would ask a couple of good questions. But, you know, I mean, this channel's never had anything from the football club. You know, we've never been contacted once about media days or anything like that, which has been very disappointing for me. But I think it's because, as I say, we're too honest. And that may be our letdown at times as to why we have no interaction with the football club, because we're too honest. But we will always be that. We will always be 100% honest on this channel. I've always said that. And, you know, that's the reason. And I think some people from the club may have watched us and thought, wow, that's a bit harsh, or, you know, that's really sort of speaking too much of the truth. And they don't want to know that. And that disappoints me in a way, because, you know, we're all fans at the end of the day. Do we want to sit here and criticize every week the performances? Absolutely not. Do we want to criticize our medical team? Absolutely not. I'd love to sit here every single day of the week and praise Newcastle and say how brilliant things are and what a wonderful football club we are. We are a wonderful football club, but there's still a lot to be put right in this football club. And I'm very disappointed that we don't have anything to do with the club. I really am, because I think we could do a lot. But I've just seen a good comment come in there, from Jock. The reason is, Paul, you don't brown nose the club. You say it as it is. Yeah, we don't brown nose anybody to get anywhere. You know, if we want to get anywhere, then we have to, unfortunately, tell the truth, and that's what we will always do. I do not understand people who just sit and brown nose or blow smoke up people's asses for no particular reason. I think as a fan, you have to, you know, ever since I started this channel way back, you know, I've always thought, you know, whether I go on a rant or not, or, you know, scream about a performance, I would much rather sit and celebrate a win and celebrate some great performances and celebrate winning things. I don't want to sit here, and neither do the other guys, sit here criticizing or sounding so down and out all the time. We don't want any of that. We want to be proud of our team. We want to be proud to promote the team. But when you see there is certain channels get interaction with the club, and you think, do they really speak the truth? Do they really, really go to the honest grain of the truth? I don't think they do. But they run their channels how they want to, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. But I think that's why we don't get the interaction with Newcastle United, because we're too honest. We say how it is, and we will always do that. We will always do that for our viewers, no doubt about it. We'll never change. And some people might not like that. We get a lot of flack from comments from time to time, and things like that, saying, "Oh, you're too negative, you're this, you're that," and don't like it when we go on rants or we give our honest opinions. But everything is from the heart on here. Everything is from our heart and the passion that we have for the football club. Every single one of us absolutely bleeds black and white and loves Newcastle United. And if we're going through a bad time, then we'll say it. But then when we go through a good time, we'll also praise and sing it from the rooftops how good we are. It's about, you know, but we'll always get people who don't like us for obvious reasons, and will have a go at us and, you know, say we're just absolutely negative and all of this. But how can you be positive about certain performances that we've seen? It's impossible. You can't. Yet people will always come at me and say some really derogatory and nasty stuff, you know, aimed at myself personally, just for having a rant on a poor performance and what's going on. But me as a fan, I'm perfectly entitled to do that, just like the next person sitting having a pint in the pub is. But, you know, I guess it's just the way. It's just the way it is. We'll see if that changes in the future. The more this channel grows, then hopefully the more it gets noticed. But we'll see what happens in the future with that. But there you go. That is the press conference reaction from this morning. We are back tonight. Don't forget, 7 o'clock. It's your chance to come on. Are you feeling the same as we are? Come on the show, on the fan forum, 7 p.m. tonight. Have a chat with us and let us know. Remember, you don't need your camera on, just your microphone. If you don't want to put your face in front of the camera, that's fine. You can come on just using your microphone. Talk to us. Are you guys out there feeling the same as we are? Or are we just spouting a load of crap? But judging by the comments and stuff like that, we're not spouting a load of crap. Our honest and proper fans and subscribers and viewers of this channel all agree with us that, we're perfectly entitled to say what we say. But get yourselves on tonight. I'm intrigued to know if you guys feel the same as us. Are you feeling frustrated about the Longstaff situation? Burnt continuing at left back. Tino being left out when he was man of the match 3 games in a row and things like that. Let me know. Come and chat to us because I'm intrigued. I really am. But listen, I want us to turn this around, and I want to shout this club from the rooftops and show everybody how proud we are to be Newcastle United fans, rather than always talking about, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. There's a long way to go until we're an elite side, without a doubt, and there will be bumps along the way. But as Mary says there, we will keep it real on here. No doubt about it. But thank you very much for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you again at 7 o'clock tonight, even if you're just viewing. But do try and get on. Make your debut on the fan forum. Have a chat with us. But in the meantime, have a wonderful Friday, guys, and we'll see you at 7 p.m. In the meantime, goodbye. Come back and check out some green.